take a look at the Sinai Peninsula. Again, we've got a couple things to keep an eye out for. One, the topography. It's very up and down, especially in the region where we do expect that this flight likely went down, somewhere in this area. Again, you do have very high elevation. Now, with that elevation comes some upsloping winds. Now, normally, those can be a factor, especially if you have planes taking off or coming down in that general region. But this plane would have been well up into the atmosphere. We're talking 20, 30, 40,000 feet up into the air because it had been in the air for a while. It left all the way down here in Sharm el-Sheikh. So it's been a while since that plane had taken off. So upsloping winds likely not a factor regardless, even if it was in some of that rough terrain. Now, we will take a look at, we've got the flight radar up here, but we want to take a look at some clouds because clouds really were not a factor and neither were the winds. Now, one thing we do know is the winds in this area were only around 10 miles per hour at best. Now, another thing, too, to note that when those winds, that's at the surface. But the plane being a much higher, we also take into account the winds that are in some of those higher levels of the atmosphere. Those winds also not very strong, even 10, 15, 20,000 feet up into the air. So again, the plane didn't likely encounter any issues with winds. Clouds also, we had some clouds over the water in this general area, but not over the peninsula itself. So clouds, rain, none of that should have been a factor. Now, one thing to note as we go over the next couple of days, those conditions are expected to stay the same. So Allison and Victor, we aren't expecting weather to hinder any recovery efforts over the next couple of days. And that is at least some good news for the folks as they get out to this very unstable and very high terrain area.